It's very nice to be together this morning. I occasionally exercise in the afternoon in the weight room, and there were several juniors in there, and they spontaneously came up and said they were looking forward to this morning. So it reminded me of the freshness of going through experiences, and I appreciated their own enthusiasm. So a ring ceremony. How did this begin? A couple of you asked me as we were starting. Well, my office is in the ball building, and 24 years ago I was watching this parade of students come pick up rings. And I thought, well, let's make this a larger event somehow. So I did what most smart headmasters think. I had donuts for the junior class the next year in the dining hall, and we gave out the rings. And then it evolved into a time to have parents and friends and uncles and grandparents and former students here, and to make this more of a ceremony and to give it some significance. I remember one of my irreverent English students whom I invited back to speak at this ceremony, Deke Sheeran, class of 2002. Deke's very clever, and he got up in front of everybody and said he never thought that he'd be speaking at an all-male jewelry breakfast. But I hope you'll see a larger significance than an all-male jewelry breakfast this morning. And I guess there were moments that made me think about this event. It was 1995. I was in Houston, Texas, and we had an alumni gathering on the top floor of a 30-story building. And this elderly woman came to the event, and I didn't know her, and she came to find me right away, and she handed me a box, and in the box was her husband's ring. She was a widow. And she said, I'd read something you'd written, and I thought you were interested in the school a great deal, and I wanted to give you this. And so she gave me her husband's ring. It's a 1924 ring. In fact, I have it on today. My wife doesn't like me to wear this. She says I'm already married to this school. It only fits on my wedding ring finger. But you should look at it if you get a chance, because it's remarkably alike the rings your sons or the boys to my left will get in a few moments. So a lot of our graduates wear their rings, and we're really proud of that. The Nashville scene, as most of you know, has a contest annually, You're So Nashville If. And one year they put, You're So Nashville if you still wear your high school ring. We think we know what school they were referring to. Pat Conroy wrote about the power of rings in his book, The Lords of Discipline. Our students have talked about the rings, especially on this particular day, because for the past 3 years we played in the state football championship, and this is the first year that we haven't played. Well, of course we're very proud we're playing again in it, but we're playing on Saturday this year. It wasn't easy to manage things practically with the game on Thursday night. You know, you had to kind of say, oh, we'll have a great day the next day at school no matter what happened. And I was tempted on Monday to say, oh, this year, you know, we're playing on Saturday, but I'm going to let you sleep in on Sunday. But I didn't say that at assembly. But in the past couple of years, one of the seniors talked about, you know, how this ring, regardless of what happened in the game, is something that they'll always be proud of and is a much greater reward and award. So this program, I think, is turned into a really nice ceremony that speaks most of all to the sense of rituals in life. And we know there are probably not enough rituals. I'm reminded of that when I go to bar mitzvah or an Eagle Scout ceremony, and pause to reflect on why it is important to think about where one is in his or her life and what one needs to do moving forward. And you'll hear some comments this morning about that issue. So we're going to now move to some music. Our chamber choir and orchestra will perform the theme from the film Band of Brothers. Thanks to Mr. Matt Smith and our orchestra and chamber choir. That's a beautiful song, and I'm reminded of Richard Spake, class of 1988, who had a significant role in that film, Band of Brothers. Well, we've asked a senior to make some comments annually at this event, and we asked Ben Frigon, class of 2018. His uncle is going to speak following him. Join me in welcoming Ben.
Thank you. I want to thank Mr. Joya for allowing me the honor to speak to you all today. And to the class of 2019, I want to thank you for coming this morning and for everything you have done for MBA and what I hope you will accomplish this next year, exceeding all expectations and making the greatest mark as possible on MBA and its community. I am particularly delighted to speak this morning before my Uncle Robbie, who has had an exceptional career. I was very excited, along with the rest of my family, 4 years ago when Robbie decided to move back to Nashville. But I must admit, I was not as excited to hear that he would be coming back to MBA occasionally to teach anatomy, because I was sure somehow, in some way, he would find a reason to give me demerits. At any rate, I congratulate all of you. Today, each of you will receive your class ring, which you will wear with you for the rest of your life, or until you lose it. I remember my mom telling me the story of when she came home from college one spring, and it was right before my youngest uncle, Edgar, was about to graduate MBA. He was class of '88. And my mom was sitting at the couch at home, and the doorbell rings. and my Uncle Ed rushes into the living room, and he tells my mom, "Hey, I need a check for $495 right now." And she goes, "What for?" And he says, "I was swimming in Center Hill Lake and my class ring slipped off. So I ordered a new one, but I didn't want to tell Mom and Dad." So my mom unbelievably wrote a check for $495, cleared out her savings, and I guess it didn't bounce because my Uncle Ed still wears his ring to this day. I hope that none of you have a similar experience, and of course this leads to my most important point in this speech, which is take off your ring before you go swimming. In fact, I know many graduates who still wear their rings to this day. Just about anywhere you go in the world, you'll be able to find proud graduates working in various fields who still wear their class rings. I therefore hope to speak to you today about the meaning of this ring and, to a greater extent, your MBA education. This ceremony signifies for each of you a certain coming of age, almost a mandate to consider your course for the next 18 months. 1 year from now, you will each be where I am, applying to college, thinking about the future, on track to graduate, hopefully. Each of you is fortunate to have benefited from the opportunity to attend MBA. You have all been given much. And now I think it is a worthy question to ask, as today you receive your rings, and in just over a year your diploma. What do you have to give? Professor Woodrow Wilson, as president of Princeton University, remarked that every man in pursuing an education should be a man of his country as well as a man of his time, and that his education should be for a greater national purpose. I urge you today not simply to recognize your previous accomplishments that have arrived you to this point, but to consider the road that lies ahead and to remind yourself of your responsibilities. Every generation is heir to new challenges. The world that we will inherit will be much different than when Robbie graduated 3 decades ago, or when the first MBA class graduated a century and a half ago. Their problems are not our problems. Their age is not our age. Instead, we must meet our own set of challenges, uniquely complex, convoluted, and persistent. When all of you walk off the hill with your diplomas, you will find yourselves standing at the precipice of this generation's struggles: economic inequality, a broken criminal justice system, the threat of terror, the opioid crisis, political partisanship and distrust in government, deteriorating relationships with our allies, and growing antipathy with our enemies. And perhaps even more than ever, a need for young men to exhibit a greater integrity in how they treat others. These problems cannot be solved with the solutions of the past, nor will there arise any magical panacea that will transform our world to utopia. These problems require a dedicated multitude of young people with outstanding education and global, diverse worldviews. Men with a strong desire for public service, committed to making this world, in our time, a more hospitable and prosperous place for everyone. It is up to this generation, in our time, to contribute our energies and skills to meet these challenges. This is the responsibility that comes with an MBA education. It is now more important than ever that all of you, as graduates of MBA, live up to Professor Wilson's standard. And when you leave this campus to take on the world, I hope that you will always wear your class ring and that it reminds you of your great responsibilities to this community, to this nation, and this world in this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. So it's been a privilege as well to ask an alumnus to make some comments. As you see from the slide behind me, Reuben Bueno has had, as Ben also said, a distinguished career. I have, in a personal level, I want to add that he has come to talk with me many times about volunteering at the school and being part of MBA, and it certainly wasn't lost on me that right after he finished Yale, he came to teach here. So this has been a place I know that means a great deal to him, and I think he's proud to be here this morning and to make some comments to the junior class. Join me in welcoming Reuben Bueno.
Thank you, Mr. Joya, for your kind introduction and for this opportunity to speak at this ring ceremony honoring the class of 2019. As a graduate and a former faculty member here, it is a true honor. The pressure is on me, though. In the audience are not only you, the students, but also faculty, friends, and family. I can't come home and hear from them that I put them to sleep. So for the next 10 minutes, I'll be showing pictures and telling stories of what MBA was like when I was here, where I went from here, what I do now, what influence MBA has had on me, and what I hope for you, the class of 2019. The campus in 1986 did not look like it does now. The most modern space was the Roberts Room in the gym, where the class of '86 officers had our picture taken. As it is now, the school was known for academic excellence. In my class, 22 of us were recognized as National Merit semifinalists, 25% of the class. In my sophomore year on the student council, we started preparing meals at Holy Name Catholic Church in East Nashville, before that neighborhood became the hippest place to live in town. Sports were important as they are now. We were district and region champions in football before the days of Division II AAA. Do you know who this guy from McGavick is? You may not recognize him with hair. He's Joe Dubin, now sportscaster for Channel 4. I even had some of the same teachers that you have. Testament to their energy and commitment to the school. They're still here, going strong. I went to Yale for college, and then as Mr. Joy said, I returned to teach 7th grade science and coach for 2 years. You may recognize two of my former students, Todd Moran and Robert Sawyer, who are now teachers. Some of my students would feel inspired to leave special messages for me. You can see unfair animal names, one of which is mine. I went to medical school a few miles down the road. Then I moved to Springfield, Illinois for plastic surgery residency training, where I met my wonderful wife, Dana. From there, I went to New York City for additional training in hand and upper extremity surgery, and then to Toronto for more specialized training in pediatric plastic surgery. After 8 years of training, I returned to Springfield to practice, and then for the last 3 years at Vanderbilt. My professional roles have been as a clinician doing surgeries, and also as an educator, serving as a residency training program director for the last 10 years, and mentoring medical students and surgeons in training. In addition to teaching surgical technique and knowledge base, the role of a program director also includes teaching professionalism, interpersonal communication, and the skills needed to practice in the ever-changing field of medicine. I am a reconstructive plastic surgeon. The most common perception of plastic surgery is what is seen on TV. I actually do none of this kind of plastic surgery. What I do is reconstructive plastic surgery, restoring form and function in patients who have defects from cancer, who are born with a deformity, or who have sustained traumatic injury. The goal of reconstructive plastic surgery is to improve the quality of life of patients. Like this guy, who had his hand amputated in an industrial fan. I have to reattach the bone, tendons, muscles, nerves, blood vessels, and skin. These are long surgeries and technically demanding, but very rewarding to restore function for him. He eventually went back to work using his hands. Reconstructive plastic surgeons also treat babies like this one, who was born with a cleft lip and palate, the roof of the mouth. When born with a deformity, it is not just appearance that parents have to deal with, but issues with feeding, nutrition, and adequate weight gain. Will their newborn be able to feed to thrive? Plastic surgery can help. In some underdeveloped countries, babies are left on the steps of hospitals, orphanages, or churches, abandoned because parents may feel the baby is cursed. But we know how to fix this. The surgery lasts around 90 minutes, but the impact lasts a lifetime. My goal with these surgeries is for children to grow up as much as possible thinking they are born without any kind of deformity, and to smile and bring smiles to others as they grow older. It is one of the most rewarding surgeries that I do, always keeping me excited and engaged and motivated to do the best I can for these children. The role of a reconstructive plastic surgeon is to help heal and to provide hope by restoring more normal appearance and function. For example, this 15-year-old boy was born with a condition called facial paralysis, where the left side of his face does not move because of the lack of development of the nerves and muscle. To restore movement, I have to transplant a muscle from his leg to his face and sew together blood vessels and nerves so the transplanted muscle will survive and move. It was a very special moment when his parents texted me a video of him smiling on that side of his face for the first time in his life. I did that same kind of surgery on this woman who had a paralyzed face on the right side after a stroke. Her wish was to have a more symmetrical smile for her daughter's wedding pictures. What does a reconstructive plastic surgeon have to do with Star Wars? We all know what happened in Episode 5. Luke Skywalker gets his hand chopped off, and he gets a bionic hand. In situations where the hand cannot be reattached, surgical advancements have caught up with Hollywood. A surgery can be done where nerves that previously supplied an extremity can be rerouted to muscles on the residual limb. The nerves are still connected to the brain, so a prosthetic sensing the nerve signals can be custom built, which allows for a thought-controlled prosthetic, just like Luke Skywalker. Here's one of my patients getting fitted for a prosthetic after I did his surgery. What has been the influence of MBA on my life? It has provided a foundation of critical thinking skills, written communication, and speaking, which I use on a daily basis. It's given me a framework for a worldview of seeking balance in my life, to be a gentleman, scholar, and athlete, as a surgeon, as a friend, as a father, and as a husband. It's instilled core values: discipline, honor, accountability, appreciation of excellence, service. But these are not all the things that I received from MBA. It's also the words of one of the most influential teachers of my life. To the majority of you here, Coach Tommy Owen is the name on the football stadium. But to those of us who played for him, he was a living legend. Yes, he was demanding. He would often tell us that he expected only one thing from us: to be perfect. Attaining perfection wasn't really the most important thing. Always striving for it was what mattered. He was a man of few words, teaching and leading by example. In my senior year, I won the Lawrence Award as the top scholar athlete in football in Nashville. Coach Owen described me as an inspirational leader who was genuinely concerned for others. He articulated the expectation he had of me, and as a result, helped me define my expectation of myself. If I look back on my narrative, that is what I've strived to be as a surgeon and as an educator, a leader who is concerned for others. I've carried his words with me my entire adult life. My family and I saw the musical Hamilton this past summer. There is a song, "Who Will Write Your Story?" If you haven't seen Hamilton, then you can find a similar message in the movie Central Intelligence, one of my family's favorites. The Rock's character tells Kevin Hart's character, "Be the hero of your own story." Your narrative doesn't stop once you leave here. It's only beginning, and you are responsible for writing it. Your teachers will help you write it. Your friends and classmates will help you write it. Your family will help you write it. Gentlemen of the class of 2019, my advice to you is to collect all your experiences, including receiving this ring, learn from them, take them with you, and be generous with sharing them with others. Teach others, whether they have heard of MBA or not, what you have learned on the Hill. If the ring serves to remind you of the lessons learned and experiences collected, wear it with pride for what the school stands for, but also with humility as you serve others. Each day you have the opportunity to write your own narrative. Be hungry to write it. Yes, it can be about accomplishment, victory, awards, but that's not everything. Your narrative can also be about effort, grit, getting up when you get knocked down, being the underdog, and never giving up. Your narrative can also be about respect, integrity, kindness, sacrifice, and love. To the class of 2019, I wish you all the best as you continue to write your own narratives. As you do so, you will also be writing MBA's narrative. Thank you, and roll red.
So we've been fortunate to hear some really exceptional speakers at MBA over the last couple of weeks. Senator Ben Sass, David Brooks. Also in this theater last week, we heard Wade Cowan, who received our Distinguished Service Award, Brant Snedeker. I went to a funeral the day before yesterday and for Lou Todd, class of '52, and at the funeral they quoted David Brooks and hearing him at MBA, and they talked about what a great life Lou Todd lived, and sort of in reference to Robbie's talk, they said no one really can choose how he or she dies, but we can all choose how we live. And I thought about that as you were talking about narrative at the end, and I appreciated your words, and I hope you all listened really closely, because you do have a great narrative to write ahead of you, and I hope that that narrative will be fulfilled here at MBA in some wonderful ways these next 18 months. Okay, we're now going to give out the rings. Let me explain how we're going to do this. A number of you have asked, and I said it's pretty simple, so don't worry about the directions. Here they are. So we're going to call the students up alphabetically. I will. And when you know they're about to be called, simply line up on my right-hand side if you are a friend, relative, alumnus who's going to give the ring. Otherwise, the seniors will hand out the rings to the students. So I'll start with Michael here, Ambrosius, in just a second, and then I'll follow alphabetically, and you'll sense when I'm getting there, so just come down on the right-hand side, and the seniors and some of my colleagues will help you get to the rings momentarily. So, and we're going to hear some music from the orchestra as we hand out the rings. So, would the first row please stand? And as I call your name, just simply proceed to my right to get your ring and then come on back to your seat. We ready? Michael Ambrosius. Blake Andrews. Bela Arwin. Felix Arwin. Cole Barker. William Barton. Luke Bernatavitz. Bennett Blackwell. Materius Boyd. William Bradford. Peyton Bryan. Jonathan Brown. Charlie Buffkin. Hunter Birch. Reed Campbell. Henry Caver. Will Caver. Walker Connor. Campbell Cook. Cole Kreider. John Curry. William Davis. Tillman Dean. Walker Dillard, in absentia. John Dinkins. Walt Dobson. Sam Dugan. Joel Elassie. Grant Ellison. Dominic Fisher. Josiah Francis. Sam Funk. Zach Garfinkel. Doug Gall. Nick German. Gibby Gibson. Atticus Glenn. Hugh Graham. Julian Haberman. Matthew Haley. Brandon Hall. Ian Hall. Joe Hamilton. Jackson Hanna. Jack Harrington. Brendan Harris. Alexander Hassey. Jake Herbstreet. Ty Herbstreet. Jacob Herder. Elijah Higgs. Liam Huber, Webb Hunt, Henry Hilbert, Zachary Jackson, Cameron Jacobson, Ross Johnson, Jake Johnston, Clark Kaminsky, Cannon King, Blake Kirschenbauer, Connor Crum, Arthur Laffer, Jackson Lampley, Paul Lee, Brandon Lewis, Jackson Link, Jackson Lyle, Brandon McDonald Sermon, Cooper Maddox, Alex Masad, Joshua Merriweather, James Minor, Garrett Murphy, Braden Myers, Will Nally, Michael Nelson, Zachary Nelson, Charles Neeson, Casey Newell, Aiden Nieswender, Nick Nola, Aiden O'Dwyer, Kanayo Ofadili, Otto Olafson. I miss you? Parker O'Neill, Joe Owens, Michael Owings, Lucas Powell, Joseph Perazzini, Nikhil Peterson, William Petroni, Will Presnell, John Preston, Aditya Priyadarshi, Graham Ragsdale, Carson Reisinger, Christian Schwartz, Jackson Singer, Carlos Soria Garcia, Reagan Sparks. Harrison Stenson. Joseph Stevens. William Stewart. Hugh Sullivan. Marshall Summer. Andrew Sutpin. Chris Tarquinio. Harrison Taylor. TJ Terrell. Billy Thomas. Caleb Talbert. Cole Turner. James Best. William Wheeler. Frank Wilk. Gray Williams. And Ben Wood. Join me in congratulating the class of 2019. I didn't tell you ahead of time, but I was supposed to tell you not to open your boxes yet, but please open your boxes if you haven't. Put on your ring. This is practical, if nothing else, because we're going to talk about the guarantee and the sizing in just a moment. While you are a student at MBA, the ring should face you. After you graduate, the waffle should face the outside world. I'd like to call up now Mr. Mike Smiley from the Herff Jones Company, who will talk about the rings. Join me in welcoming Mr. Smiley.
Good morning. It's an honor to be here. I need to tell you that as long as 60 years ago, my father supplied the rings at this school. I've been in this business for 35 years. My son, who's sitting up here, has been with me for 10. So it's a family business, and it feels like family taking care of family now. As far as your ring goes, guys, you're covered for everything. If your ring gets run over by a car, who are you going to call? Number one answer, call my office. We're about 2 miles as the crow flies. We're over on 21st Avenue, otherwise known as Hillsborough Road, otherwise known as Hillsborough Pike, but I can tell you how to get there. If you ever need your ring resized, we resize it free for the rest of your life. This can be done every month for the rest of your life. You will only be wearing it for about 2 weeks because it'll be up there for 2 weeks in the factory, but it'll be sent back to your home. If it needs resizing today, and by saying that I mean if you're putting your ring on right now and it's literally falling off your hand, what I want you to do is see me or my son out in the hallway over here at this back door, and I want to take a look at it. I want to see how it does fit. Hot, tired, cold, and rested, it's going to fit you different in the morning, different in the evening. It's going to fit you different in the wintertime than it does in the summer. Normally your ring finger will change about a half a size or so between winter and summertime. So we just need to kind of take a look at it and see how it's working for you. But also you're covered for year date. Surely you're not going to fall behind. You're going to graduate on time. If you were to change schools, which I don't think you're going to do at this point in your education, you're covered for that. But I mean, if you move to California, France, Germany, if you change schools, I'll make you a new ring free of charge. Give me your MBA ring back, and that doesn't cost you a penny. So, like I say, we got you covered for everything. We're very close by, and we will take care of you. Once you have that ring on, if you do have a problem with it, also check your engraving, check your year date. Make sure everything about that ring is exactly the way you wanted it. If it needs to be fixed, re-engraved, resized, I can get it back to you before Christmas so you can enjoy it over the holidays. Thank you very much.
Please join now in singing the NBA alma mater. Mr. Matt Smith will lead us, so everyone please stand. I think the words will be up here if you don't.
Hail NBA, of thee we sing, now and forevermore. Long may the bells of glory ring, now as in the days of yore. Hail to thee, where loyal hearts and friendship dwell. On and on, faithfully, hail Montgomery Bell.
Please remain standing. I just want to say thanks for being here this morning. Congratulations to the class. It's really wonderful to see some young alums back, and obviously fathers and friends being part of this ceremony. Hope you have a great day.